Man, I worked really hard in that headwind for this one shot.
All right, getting myself all ready. We have the Road Apple Roubaix today. So it's not a race, but...
So Road Apple Roubaix 2023. There's a number of reasons Road Apple Roubaix is always my favorite event of the year. Starting off with, it's just the first organized event I had ever done, so it's a tradition for me to come back to it every year. Garrettsville, the town that it takes place in, the start and the finish, isn't too far from here, so a little over a half an hour drive, which is cool. So it's easy to get out there in the morning, but also that means just a lot of people from here in Akron come, and then just from the surrounding area. So the Joy Machines guys in Cleveland, a lot of the Yetis who do the Dirty River rides. And then this year, like something that was really cool is now with the YouTube channel, I ended up meeting a lot of people who watch the channel, or I only knew their screen name and didn't really have a face for them before. So that was really cool as well. The place that they hosted at, Slim and Jimbo's, is kind of like a sports bar right on the main street. And it's just got a lot of space. You know, besides the bar room, there's a big room next door, sign in and registration, and then the after party. It just works out really well in there. Also, this is one of the best values you'll ever find in an organized event. It's $40, and you know, you get obviously the things that go with an organized ride, the mass start, the aid stations, route markers, chip timing, and all that kind of stuff. But then, you know, a couple beers, a pint glass, a t-shirt, a raffle ticket, you know, and then all that at the after party with some contests, like push-up contests and all this, you know, just a fun time. When it comes down to it, wouldn't get away with less than a $40 day just going to do something, and then on top of it, it's a great ride. The organizers are really cool. Always enjoy chatting with them. Just a fun event. And like I said, it benefits Garrettsville directly and indirectly as well. Then the route is really cool. It's mixed, I guess, terrain ride. It's a lot of country roads, you know, some chip and seal, some paved, some rougher paved roads, and then, you know, like gravel segments. So it's almost like the, you know, pro race that takes place on the same day. Strada Bianchi in a way with, you know, it's kind of roady, but then, you know, you go and hit these gravel roads that are of varying conditions. This year, the conditions were actually really good. I'll get into that in a minute. And along with that route is the ride is climby, but it's not like completely brutal. So 47 miles, like 2,500 feet is what my Wahoo had it at. So for being early in the season, it's kind of great because it is a challenge, but it's not like one of these super crazy climby rides. I thought you guys were gone. I lost you guys in the wind at 7 miles, and I was like, well, see them at the finish.
That crosswind was great.
Yeah. So Road Apple is one of the few events that I do where I actually kind of race it. I'm not racing anyone else really per se. It's just one of these events where I've just, every time I go out and I try and push it a little bit. I don't like completely turn myself inside out. I'm not riding in the red the whole time, but I am out there to try and like have a really good kind of hard ride. I guess keep it a little bit uncomfortable most of the time. It's just, I've always done it at this event, and this year I was also really happy with the way it went. I rode about a 16 mile an hour average, and I just felt like I rode really, really strong. One of the defining features of Road Apple is the wind. Every year, the course is like loosely like a figure eight. You did get some tailwind sections, but it really felt like you were in a headwind or you had the crosswinds, and from either side they were bad this year. There were a couple gravel climbs that it was already a little slow going in the gravel, and right before you let into the climb you were just getting blasted with that headwind. So it always makes it interesting. Since I don't do a ton of organized stuff like where I'm really kind of pushing it, it also makes me start to strategize. You know, if there's a group going a little faster than me, do I try and pedal a little harder to catch that draft? Do I try and sometimes slow up a little bit to sit in a draft? So it's kind of stuff that I don't normally contemplate. And it's interesting, I learned stuff about myself doing a ride like this. Like, I'm horrible at pacing. One thing I noticed is that, and again, not a humble brag, but a lot of times I'm dropping the people on the climbs who are around me, but then we'll be on some long flat section and they all start slowly passing me back, which just makes me believe I'm wasting a lot of energy on the climbs. It's just something about myself. I can't help it. I really want to get them over with. The signature climb of this event, they call it Heckle Hill. It's all Alpha Road. This was one year where I decided, don't crush yourself. Had been riding really hard and I was starting to get tired, and I could feel my legs were getting fairly tight, and I was actually smart enough not to completely crush it. I think that would have been bad for the rest of my ride if I had done that. My favorite part of the day, which I showed, is I had been out there alone a lot. You know, like I said, I was kind of going from group to group, or if someone would pass me by, I might jump their wheel for a little bit. But a lot of times I was getting caught out, and I got caught out in some pretty bad headwinds alone, or crosswinds and stuff like that. But a little past, I think it was mile 33, I'm out there and I look ahead, and my buddies Ben and Michael were both riding flat bar bikes, and I see these two people side by side, and I'm like, that's them. It was after a section where I was really struggling alone, but I'm like, I gotta catch these guys. Dug deep, caught up to them, and it was so great. Well, they're both in front of me, and I'm riding right behind them, and all of a sudden, Albert, our other friend, pulls up. You know, right when getting kind of close to the finish, I guess, 10, 15 miles or something, and 3 of my best friends are there with me. We ended up hanging together most the rest of the ride on that defining climb that I talked about. Micah went a little stronger, and we never quite caught back up to him, but me and Ben and Albert pretty much rode together the rest of the way.
Riding well, 30 miles in. Hoping I could hold this pace I've been doing. Been caught alone in a lot of headwinds, which sucks. Some brutal climbs left, so we'll see. I think most of my friends are up ahead. Don't know if I'll ever see them again though. I mean, until we're smashing some beers at the bar. And I'm talking with the GoPro between my teeth. It's your boy.
And then the ride finishes with a 4 or 5 miles on a bike path. And I always, at that point, just want to hammer and get the ride over with and see how much, just use every bit of energy I have left. Me and AJ kind of took turns taking the lead, did I think around 18 miles an hour into town. It's usually, that trail it's crushed limestone. It's usually horrible. I don't think I took any footage of it because I think I was just trying to go so hard and get done. This year, for some reason, even though it rained a ton the day before and then snowed overnight, was almost as smooth as it could be. Just a couple little puddles. So it was so great to not have the surface hinder you. Last year, it was like sketchy ice thing, like a whole layer of ice with some water on top of it. So that was kind of like really cool this year to be able to just not have the conditions affect me trying to hammer it home. We did turn onto the last street that you turn onto to get to the finish, and Albert came around me and started to go he's gonna sprint in, and then it was just this again horrible headwind and I was able to catch back on his wheel, and he finished, I finished, and Ben finished. When you look at the timing, we're all just 1 second apart. And I think Mike ended up a little less than maybe a minute ahead of us. So just another great day. Hung out at the after party, talked to so many people, just had a blast. It's so fun to stand around and just get to talk to everybody about how their day went and what their ride was like. Even if you're not pushing it, a lot of people went out there really just to have a good, fun ride. A lot of groups hung together and just went out there to have a day out in the country together. And so, yeah, it's one of those rides you could do it however you want. It is it's a fondo. It is timed, but there's no podiums, there's no awards. They do some Strava segments. Anyways, that's kind of it for this video. Again, thanks to the organizers and the volunteers at Road Apple. You just put on a great event. I love it. I'll be back every year as long as you keep doing it. Everyone else, take a look at this event if you never have, if you're in the area. I always have my Strava's linked below, so if you want to see what the route looks like, you could do that. Also go to their website, Facebook, Instagram, and all that stuff. And I will see you in the next video.